Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the iHeart Radio Network, the #1 network in the United States of America. And also Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe according to Big C. And them good old boys down south, I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America. Thank you so much for following Big C Sports. Also across the pond in London, England, as well as Paris, France. Thanks for following Big C Sports on the iHeart Radio Network. Also across the pond. And I'm telling you, we love it across the pond, but we're not just talking about England and Germany, Big C. We're talking about Great Britain as well. So thank you for following Big C Sports. And I want to say, Canada, I love you. I'm not going to chew up the national anthem today because I got some hate mails when I realized they're coming from Big C. I realized maybe he's part of Donald Trump's campaign after all, Big C. But I have no more love than anyone than the land of the free and the home of the brave. Big C, how's it going for you good old boys down south, Big C?
We're sitting around, got beautiful weather, we got teams playing in the Final Four. You know, when you think about it, what better place to be in college sports than down in the South?
Oh, yeah. I'll tell you what, so much going on. You know, the South is always known as a football place. Everybody's football crazy about the South, and we know it. And they're crazy about their moonshine and their backyard barbecues and all that stuff. But I want to tell you, Big C, there's so much going on in the world of the South that basketball has actually invaded the consciousness of the Carolinas, Big C. Your thoughts on the Carolinas coming to you on this it's a beautiful day in California. It's Tuesday. It's also March the 28th. What's going on in the Carolinas, Big C?
Well, Charlton, when you think about it, you got a debate now. Who's the most popular best coach on campus? You got Frank Martin on the men's team and Don Staley on the women's team, being in the Final Four, Charlton. You know, when you think about it, when we talk about the Final Four in football, we talk about the Final Four in basketball.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's been so much talk that the SEC is the best conference in college football, the most dominant. But you got to look at what they've been doing in basketball, Charlton. The SEC has not taken a backseat in college basketball. You have the great Kentucky program. You got South Carolina now that has risen through the ranks. You got several other teams in the conference, Charlton, that has constantly made NCAA runs. But to have this unprecedented situation where you have South Carolina being represented by both the men and the women's team from the SEC playing in college basketball's biggest stage, Charlton, is just great for the conference and great for the university. Even greater for the players, Charlton.
Yeah, that's definitely true, Big C. And you know, we have so much going on out here in Northern California, especially in the Sacramento and Stockton region. We've had some March Madness here in Sacramento at the Golden One Center, home of the Sacramento Kings. Also down in Stockton at the Waterfront Arena, they've had the Women's March Madness. So a lot of things going on, and you talked about in the South. But I don't care what part of the country you're on, whether you're East Coast, whether you're the West Coast or North or South. I want to say this segment is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them that Charlton and Big C sent you, them good old boys from Big C Sports. Big C, how's your Escalade holding up, Big C?
Charlton, you know, it's a little bewildered right now. We haven't had much moisture. You know, we have a hard time finding mud. You know, this is not our favorite time of year, spring and summer, you know, because it's hot. And, you know, she likes to be cool and coated in that mud, you know, keeps her shine, man, you know, like an elephant.
Yep.
An elephant coats his skin in mud, you know, to protect it from all the rays and everything, from fading.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the same thing that my baby, the Escalade, loves to do.
Well, I've heard a lot of people call their cars, you know, whatever they call them, but I never heard them call them baby. But when they see no one keeps their baby that dirty, Big C, is that a southern thing when you keep your babies in mud, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, what baby doesn't like to go out playing in mud? Okay.
That's true.
You got to think about that,
That's funny. So now I'm sure we'll start seeing Pampers doing commercials where they have their baby diapers in mud. That'll come up before the summertime's over, Big C. You heard it first on Big C Sports. But I also want to say, I want to thank two people. Number one is Lola Wilson out of Los Angeles, California. She's a model, follows Charlton and Big C Sports. And also I want to say, hello to Shannon McArty. She's the Massachusetts Sports Commissioner, and she's out here in Northern California attending some sporting events here in Northern California. So thank you very much, Shannon. I want to reach out to you also, and thank you for following Big C Sports. So that's East Coast to West Coast Big C, of course, across the pond and all over the country. Also want to say hi to Sugar Burt, who's doing some boxing and promoting that all over the country. Also going to be over in Africa promoting boxing, and part of Big C Sports will be bringing you some of that action as well. So thank you so much for that, and a lot of good old boys following the world of sports. But Big C, last night, I talk about basketball, and we talked about who's going to be the MVP. And we know there's a lot of things going on in the world of basketball. But before we even get into basketball, I don't want to take my mind off of what's going on in the White House with POTUS. I know that it's Sergei Gorkov. He's one of the principal parties with Putin that runs VEB Bank, okay, which is Vash Icon Bank. They help fund Sochi Olympics up to $60 billion, billion with a B. And that's the bank that Donald Trump has his son-in-law dealing with to hide his involvement with him. But Trump's been dealing with these good old boys for over 20 years. Big C, they've been sanctioned by the U.S. government. Trump's has his son-in-law dealing with them now. Your thoughts, Big C?
Well, right now, Donald's willing to throw people under the bus.
His son-in-law, Big C. Yeah.
He's giving Kushner national security clearance.
Yeah.
So that still ties him back to him, regardless of whether he wants to throw him on the bus.
Yeah.
You have national security clearance, and you have intimate ties with Russia.
Yeah.
So, you can't even lie your way out of it, because you were the one that sought the clearance and got it from the national government.
Yeah.
So, but it's one of the things, Charlton, that we've run with for a long time. People talk about politics and sports don't mix. We're just a sports show. We don't want to get politics in it. If you don't want to have politics in your sports show, don't wake up in the morning, okay?
Yeah.
Because you cannot avoid it. When you drive down the freeway on your way to work, you're driving down a national freeway that's funded by the government.
Yeah.
That's political, okay, Charlton?
Yeah.
When you go get gas, that tax base is set by the government. That's political. When you go to the grocery store and buy groceries, that's political because of the taxes you pay into the local and state government. Everything we deal with is political.
Oh, yeah.
Even the networks that they broadcast on have political sanctions for what they can and cannot say. So don't say you're not bringing politics into work. Everything we deal with is politics. Everything we deal with, Charlton, is real.
Everything.
We're not going to sit up and lie to the American public. And I play this show that I look at periodically called The Morning Joe on MSNBC.
Oh, yeah.
And it's great that Joe said, as long as you lie from the White House, we're going to report it.
You have to.
Every day they have something to talk about.
Yeah.
That's the beautiful part about that show, Joe.
Well, I tell you, you might talk about Morning Joe, but I watch it for Minka. I don't even know what they're saying when I'm seeing her on TV, Big C. So I'm glad I have it on mute just to watch her, Big C. But there's nothing wrong with that. But I do tell you this. If you're intelligent, you do want to be well-read. If you're just an ignorant person, just keep up with the scores. All you got to do is Google the scores all day. And when it comes to that, I just want to say, as part of this country's fabric, we all have the right to agree or disagree. It doesn't matter what. But at least be like Walter Cronkite and tell the truth. I want to congratulate CNN down there in the South, them good old boys. Don Lemon has been all over it. Van Jones and Wolf Spitzer, which is one of my favorite news guys. I really have enjoyed watching him over the years since Bernie Shaw stepped down at CNN. But if you can't get the news from CNN, just tune in to Big C Sports. We've been telling you about this banking connection with Donald Trump for the past 5 months. Okay, CNN's picking it up this week. So good job, CNN. But if you want to know more, follow Big C Sports. And as far as that, Big C, have you heard much from, I think it was Sean Spicer. He was having an argument with one of the reporters that was in the White House today in the briefing room, and pretty much telling her, hey, if the president says it, that's what we're going by, as if the FBI and the CIA don't know what they're talking about. Big C, your thoughts on that, Big C?
Well, I think, Charlton, this is the first White House spokesman in history that has discredited all the national security agencies.
Yeah, yeah.
These people that do this job, he's a spokesman, basically a monkey on a leash,
yeah.
A flunky.
Yeah.
Out there, you got to say these things.
Yeah.
But our national intelligence and security agencies, Charlton, are dealing with people who care about the country
as
a whole, not trying to protect one individual who's lying every time he sends you out there and he sends you
yeah.
verbatim.
Yeah.
These are the people, and whether you're for Trump or against Trump, these are the people who are for the United States.
Yeah, just be about the truth.
The United States of America, the same country that, people say that Colin Kaepernick was anti-American and that he's more American than all those people that said he's anti-American.
Yeah.
But you know, what they go out, Charlton, for the protection of America.
Yeah.
And telling America this is what's in their best interest. They're not an individual, Charlton. There's 17 different agencies.
Yeah.
So it's not one person going out saying that you have to listen to me and not everybody else because I'm the smartest person here.
Oh, yeah.
They take 17 of the smartest agencies in the world, Charlton, to help protect and defend America.
Yeah.
And they have worked with every president that we've had in modern time. And these presidents have gone by what they've said. They believe them. These national security agencies, Charlton, but now all of a sudden we got a guy who knows nothing about politics, and he's saying that these national security agencies know nothing.
Yeah, the CIA's lying. Yeah.
They're the ones who would know the deal about security.
Well,
they may not be businessmen, but they're security professionals, Charlton.
They know what they're talking about. And ironically, in this world of sports, how politics mixes, look at Putin and the Sochi Olympics, which invites countries from all over the world, and they got funded by this bank, VEB Bank, which is a Vish Econ Bank out of Russia. It's a private bank, Big C. It's not something like a B of A or Chase that you can walk in off the street in the brick and mortar. This is private money. $60 billion came from that bank to fund the Olympic facilities at the Sochi Olympics in Russia. And that's Vladimir Putin's good old boy in the oligarchy. And that's where Donald Trump also owes money. And that's why the impeachment proceedings are going to start after they get deep into this investigations. It's part of the emollients law. You can't do it. And they're also sanctioned. Here's a guy that's dealing with a bank that's been sanctioned by the United States government. And he's supposed to be the smartest guy in the country. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, you know, he was the smartest guy in the country being a crook, Charlton.
Yeah.
That's what he didn't tell me. He didn't complete the sentence, nor did anybody have it.
Yeah.
He was the smartest guy knowing how to go out and get illegal money and hide it by not doing your taxes. Because at any point, he'd have done his taxes. This is why Americans should not say him releasing his taxes is irrelevant and not important.
It's very relevant. It's very relevant.
You need to know that, Charlton.
Yeah.
Because if you don't pay your taxes, all of a sudden here comes the IRS talking about putting a lien on everything that you have.
Oh, I've been audited before. It's not a good feeling, Big C.
He's operated as a crook.
Yeah.
You know,
no.
And people say, well, you know, he's a great businessman. I think we're understanding how great a businessman it is.
Yeah.
Charlton, you know, he made this announcement that Ford was going to be reinvesting money back into the U.S. I think they made that statement back in 2013. Charlton.
Yeah, under President Obama.
Going over the next 5 years, 5 to 6 years, as far as reinvesting and retooling plants.
Yeah.
You don't make that decision in one day and start making that investment in these huge conglomerates.
Yeah.
It takes time. It's like a locomotive going down the track, Charlton. It takes time to build up speed. But even in all this reinvestment back in America, Charlton, they said 150 positions will be stabilized.
Yeah.
They didn't say hired, they said stabilized.
Yeah.
So, you know, you go out and make a tweet as president, well, there's 150 new jobs. No. You misworded what they said. You miscommented on what Ford said. Stabilized means these jobs will not go away.
Yeah.
They didn't say increase, they said stabilize.
Yeah.
So, you know, to go out and continuously lie, thinking that you're impressing the American public, and you do. You do have some people that you impress when you make these statements because they can't read, so they need someone to...
No, Rush Limbaugh can... This is why I disagree with you, Big C. Rush Limbaugh can read. He's just ignorant, okay? Because there's not that many ignorant Americans left. Most of them have been... Yeah, Sean Hannity too. They're all in love with the alternative facts, Big C. And I just think it's important. Everybody start reading. Just read a little bit. Even if it's 5 or 10 minutes a day, read about what's going on in the political system. And also speaking of something that's very near and dear to our hearts, Big C, you know, the NBA, we got high on March Madness. Now they're going to get a week break so we can kind of recoil, and them good old boys can fly all over the country, and all the coaches in the schools can make sure they cash in on this nearly $1 billion that's generated by primarily black labor. Big C, a lot like 300 years ago almost. At the same time, I just want to bring up the fact in the NBA, King James and the good old boys from Cleveland, this is the first time in a long time that they have not been in first place in the Eastern Conference. They actually got overtaken by the Boston Celtics, Big C, and they had a horrendous game last night against the San Antonio Spurs, which is always a good team under Coach Popovich. They got beat down 103-74. Is that because they're resting, or is it just because those legs have gotten old over the years, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I don't think it's anything about about the legs getting old. You know, they've got so much backlash from the sports media about sitting down their high-profile stars. You think about the 74 points. That's the lowest total that the team has scored in LeBron James' history there.
Yeah.
So there's something to be said about that. But, you know, if you sit players on the bench and don't get them to play, then everybody's saying that you're taking away the talent off the court from the fans who have paid for the tickets.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think the Browns have found not the Browns, but the Cavaliers have found the remedy to that. And Browns do it also. They don't play hard.
Yeah,
but,
yeah. Leave the Browns alone.
You know, what happened is that these players are going out there saying, okay, we've gotten the backlash from the media, from the fans,
Yeah.
and from the commissioner
Yeah.
about not being on the court. We don't have to be on the court giving 100%. And I think that's going to become a new trend, Charlton, in the NBA, is that you're going to see the stars going out there playing, you know, 3/4 of the game, but they're only going to give about 3/4 of an effort.
Yeah.
And so either way, you're robbing the fans of the true talent. So, you know, the NBA is going to have to find another way to address this issue. But you know, when LeBron wants to go to the whip, you know what I'm saying? It's just like a race.
Yeah.
Right, a jockey.
Yeah.
When he goes to the whip, and when you're on that back stretch, and you come around that turn, and you're asking that horse to give it off, we've seen LeBron do this, Chuck.
Oh, yeah.
You think about it, 14 years in the playoffs, in the NBA, an unprecedented scenario. And we're talking about a potential 8 consecutive championship appearances.
Yeah.
That's unheard of, you know, unless you're Bill Russell. 8 consecutive championship appearances. So people who want to berate and belittle LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers understand what he has brought to the NBA in this past decade. He has brought an unprecedented level of talent and performance to the court, night in and night out, year in and year out.
Yeah.
So I don't see how any of these reporters, Charlton, regardless of what broadcast or print network that you're involved in, have the right to criticize an athlete of that stature, Charlton, because look at some of the reporting that you have done.
Yeah.
Look at some of the print that you have written.
Yeah.
You have done a lot of crap work, but the work that you do that's quality depends on these African-American athletes who go out there and perform at the optimum level.
Yeah.
You know, you don't say anything about a white quarterback that throws 6 interceptions in a game in the regular season. It's like, oh, you know, the defense is playing well, but you know, on the defense,
Yeah.
you just have to have 80% African-American on defense that day. So, you know, this is the thing in how the standard is raised. When a white player is not playing well, you get a white pitcher in baseball get shelled for 8 runs.
Yeah.
Well, he was having an off night on the mound, okay?
Yeah.
You know, he wasn't getting any support from his defense. Well, they couldn't catch everything that was popped in front of him.
Yeah.
You know, so they had to pick it up on the bounce. But, you know, when these African-American athletes, these basketball players decide that they want to tone it down a little bit, look at the backlash they're receiving. They got backlash for not playing. Now they're getting berated for not performing.
Yeah.
So it's a no-win situation. What does Cleveland want to do, Jonathan?
Win a championship.
They want to get to the playoffs.
Yeah.
Right? They don't give a damn right now about the regular season. They're in the playoffs.
Yeah.
They'll be no lower than the second seed, but they're in the playoffs. That's when they raise havoc. That's what they play for, the second season in the NBA.
And when you think about it too, Big C, they did not have home court advantage against Golden State last year, and they were able to knock Golden State off of the count, even though they won a record 73 wins, Big C. So obviously it doesn't matter where you are in the regular season, as long as you can, like you say, turn up the heat in the playoffs.
Another thing, Jonathan.
Yeah.
Who did they not beat in the Eastern, playoffs
Yeah.
last year?
Yeah.
Who did they beat?
Yeah, they beat everybody.
And they beat them all on the road also.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any difference about home with them.
Yeah, and they're battle tested, so that's why Tyronn Lue, he's not going to try to burn his players out. I think if you're a track runner, you run the 400, you don't try to burn all your gas in the first 100 meters. You got to get your gas coming on the last 200-meter stretch. You don't just run full speed the whole time, and that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to pace themselves. Also, you will look at another great athlete that's also in the running for MVP, but not quite there, Big C. But Kawhi Leonard scored 25 points for San Antonio, and he was the one doing a lot of guarding of LeBron James. You look at Cleveland, they're 47 and 26. James played 17 minutes. And if you think about it, Boston's 48 and 26. But when it comes to playoff time, can Boston hold up against Cleveland? And that's going to be a great series to watch. Reminds me of the days when the great Larry Bird and Robert Parrish played, and Dennis Johnson, them good old boys, Danny Ainge and Kevin McHale under the great Casey Jones. That's the kind of season Boston's turning into. Hopefully We'll have an exciting Eastern Conference playoff with those two teams at least. But I also want to just point to the fact, Big C, San Antonio, they're 57-16. Golden State is 59-14. And San Antonio is only 2 games behind Golden State. And I know Houston's very good. Houston could beat either one of these teams, even though being out here on the West Coast, having access to the media, I want to see Golden State get in. It's a lot easier to make the trip, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Golden State right now, Charlton, is on a 7-game win streak.
Yeah.
But everybody said, what are they this weaker opponents? They're still NBA teams.
Oh, yeah.
I think we have to cut off that analogy of weaker opponents. If it's about weaker opponents in any professional sports, then banish them from the league.
Yeah.
If they're a weak opponent,
yeah.
They've been paid like everybody else. But also, everybody said Golden State would struggle when Kevin Durant went out, Charlton.
Yeah.
They have not struggled. They've actually found a better stride. When you think about Klay Thompson and, Steph Curry, Thompson shooting 50% and Steph shooting 49% from the three.
Yeah.
Since Kevin Durant has gone out. So I think what has happened is that they've honed their games back to where they were 2 years ago. They're not worried about chasing a 73-game win streak. They're worried about dominating the conference. That's what you look at right now. And when you look at the rest of the West, I mean, you really have 2 teams chasing. You have San Antonio and you have Houston.
Yeah.
Those are your true opponents. I mean, you know what James Harden is. You can get an answer for James Harden.
Yeah.
It's the rest of the team that you control.
Yeah.
And even in San Antonio, you talk about Kawhi Leonard, who is quietly developed into one of the top 5 players in the NBA.
Oh, he's amazing.
Right, because he's in San Antonio, talking he's in a small media market, he'll never get noticed.
Yeah.
He just won't. And he plays consistently night in, night out. It's even when they talk about the potential MVP Westbrook in Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
When you think about this team, I believe they won 42 games this year, Charlton.
Yeah, OKC, they're 42 and 31.
And in those 42 victories, Westbrook has had a triple-double in at least 30 of them.
Yeah.
Okay? And so when you think about it, that, 3/4 of their victories have come when he's had a triple-double.
Yeah.
So if he's not having a triple-double, then this team's chances of winning are not that great, Charles.
Yeah, that's true.
They are not that great. So when you get to the playoffs, you're playing the elite teams in the league. And so those coaches are going to know how to defend Michael Westbrook.
Yeah.
And so you don't know who else is on the team, who can step up in Oklahoma City. So this is a big question mark for them. He can be the MVP, Charles.
Yeah.
When you think about irresponsible,
I think Russell's going to win the MVP though. Yeah.
That's a huge feat.
Yeah, and I think Russell, he will. That's my opinion. You think about what he did last night. They overcame a 13-point deficit in the final 4 minutes. He scored 37 points, including 16 in the fourth quarter when you need him the most, Big C. And he finished with 13 rebounds and 10 assists for his 3rd straight triple-double. 37 triple-doubles on the season out of 42 wins, Big C. That guy is an amazing athlete. I just really think that's the guy I just pull for because he's doing it with his star power left him. I know they don't have the same record that Houston has, but his star, Batman left the Cape and he left Robin all by himself, and Robin's getting it done, Big C. I really respect him for that. I want to touch on another great team. The Raptors 131, the Magic 112. DeMar DeRozan scored 36 points, and Corey Joseph had 15 and 13 assists in Toronto's win. That's their 6th straight win, Big C. But when it comes to getting into the playoffs, I don't think Toronto can hold up to teams like Boston and Cleveland, even though they took Cleveland to the games. I think it was Game 6 last year of the Eastern Conference Finals, and they're the number 4 seed right now at 45 and 29. Your thoughts on Toronto, Big C?
Well, Chelsea, you look how well Toronto has played. I mean, they brought in Serge Ibaka, who attempted to mesh with what they had.
Oh, yeah.
The thing they haven't had is Kyle Lowry, Chelsea.
Yeah.
Kyle Lowry's been out for 6 weeks. He's due to be back in another week. Now, they get that weapon back in the offense, Chelsea, a 20-point score from the last couple seasons.
Yeah.
Look how much more dynamic their offense will be. And that's the biggest thing we look at is guard play when we get to this time of the year.
Yeah.
How well are your guards? We've talked about Westbrook, we've talked about Harden, we've talked about Curry and Thompson. So the teams that have dominated, who've been the best, have had the guard play. You know that, eventually LeBron will go out and start playing point guard when they get into the playoffs in Cleveland.
Yeah.
So that's going to be the most dominant point guard that you have in the NBA at that point. So it's very imperative that your guards are healthy because they're facilitating everything, Jonathan. We saw that last year when CP3 went out and with the Clippers.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, that team just fell apart. They had no true leadership at point guard. But when you look at the Western Conference and the point guard sharpen on the top 4 teams, you look at Golden State. You see what they got in that dynamic tandem.
Oh, yeah.
You see what Harden has done all year long in Houston, moving to that 1 instead of being at the 2. Michael Westbrook undoubtedly is unparalleled far as talent in the NBA. But Tony Parker, the quiet assassin in San Antonio, Jonathan, that no one gives any credence to it. And you see what he's done with this organization over the past decade.
Yeah.
So when you talk about guard play and you look at the records in the NBA, you take the top 4 records in the NBA, Jonathan, in the Western Conference.
Yeah.
They all have tremendous dynamic guard play. And we also look at Boston, the number 1 team in the East.
Yeah.
Who do they have? Isaiah Thomas. Thomas, Jonathan.
Yeah.
You know, they got Isaiah Thomas. You talked about DeRozan in Toronto.
Yeah.
So the guards are very synonymous with the success that these teams are having in their playoff runs, Jonathan.
Yeah, and when you think about that, I'm going to be out covering the Sacramento Kings and the Utah Jazz tomorrow night at the Golden One Center in Sacramento, but I still think about Boogie Cousins and also the good old boy Thomas. They were here in Sacramento, and they are all-star players, and now they're not here. The new arena, but the all-star guys are gone, and hopefully if Vlade Divac can turn it around. There's also going to talk about some good old boy coming in and relieving Vlade Divac of his spot, Big C. I would love to tell Vivek Ranadive that if you go back to look at success, when the Kings had the most success, they did what a lot of you good old boys down south do, Big C. They went to Las Vegas, okay? Now, we know what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, but often it helped those guys play relaxed. They played a lot more relaxed back in the day, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, you know, they got some great swimming pools there in Vegas. They're able to go out there and relax, let your muscles relax and just float off the water. You take a lot of stress off your feet, you know, because they're a little more buoyant.
Yeah.
So I think that has a lot to do with it. I don't know if you guys got any pools in California with 16.
Yeah.
You know, so that's one of the things that they got a chance to enjoy down at the Palm. You know, is that rooftop pool and that sunshine, work on those tans. And we know that the black players in the NBA really need to work on those tans. So they had a lot of fun and fun with relaxation.
Yeah, I thought all the African Americans were going to Vegas for the suntans, Big C. But I guess if that works at home when you get back home, that works for me too, Big C. I want to say that sports is a billion-dollar industry, and boys and girls sports is the foundation to this billion-dollar industry. For any sport, you need athletic and event insurance. Tweet out to Big C Sports on the iHeart Radio Network. We have Ben and Mark, which has been doing it for over 44 years, and also we're in all 50 states. If you need any type of insurance, if you're a pro athlete, a collegiate athlete, a high school athlete, or even mom and pop soccer leagues, tweet out to Big C Sports on the iHeart Radio Network every Monday through Friday at 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time worldwide on the iHeart Radio Network. Big C, I want to touch on a couple more NBA games. I just want to touch on the fact that New York, the Knicks beat the Pistons 109-95. Derrick Rose scored 27 points. Yeah, I think I think Charles Oakley doesn't even care if they win or not, Big C. But, you know, they won a game last night, so congratulations to Phil Jackson. He's going to have to hang on before the end of the year before they fire him. And Porzingis had 25 points. Carmelo Anthony returned from a 2-game injury absence. He popped in 21. And the Jazz, the team I'll be covering tomorrow up in Sacramento, Anthony Davis, 36 points, not enough to overcome for the Pelicans. And the Jazz won at 108-100. What's Anthony Davis and also Boogie Cousins going to do in New Orleans? They probably need another year playing together. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, you know, something, I don't know if that's a great relationship when you look at the two. Cousins' ego is large, and being down in the Big Easy is not going to be easy for those two to merge.
Yeah.
You know, neither one of them is used to playing at the 4.
Yeah.
You got 2 5-position players, and so I know Davis can go out there because when he started high school, he played point guard.
Yeah.
So he has the ability to handle the ball on the wing, but he's developed so much into a dominant inside player. He reminds so many people of a young Tim Duncan.
Oh, yeah.
When he came into the league, you know, the same type of moves, the ability to handle the basketball,
yeah,
to understand the dynamics and angles of the game. That's what Anthony Davis possesses. So, you know, Boogie Cousins is just a straight pivot player. That's where he is, down on the block, and he's not looking to go anywhere. You know, ironically, both of these players are former University of Kentucky players.
Oh, yeah.
And they didn't get a chance to play together in college because Calipari, you know, tell guys they can't say more to the NBA since being at the University of Kentucky.
Yeah.
That's more than double of any other university. And we always talk about players going to college, getting an education. But, you know, the ultimate goal of any college athlete is to get paid.
Yeah.
And if you're not getting paid there in college and you have an opportunity to go and become an instant millionaire, you cannot turn that down. And that's what John Calipari tells his players on. I can make you rich in a year.
Yeah.
And so he's done that with 39 players since he's been at the University of Kentucky, Jonathan. And he has 3 more potentially lottery picks this year at the University of Kentucky. They could join Davis and Cousins in the NBA, and that would take it up to 42. So you think about what he's done for the African American society, Jonathan.
Yeah.
Since he's been a coach at the University of Kentucky, also while he was at the University of Memphis, Jonathan, he has created, since he's been at the University of Kentucky, no less than 40 African American millionaires, Jonathan.
Wow.
Think about that. How many other men have done that in America? You can talk about people putting forth, and yes, we have professional teams.
Yeah.
But we're talking about a guy who is not a professional coach. He's not an owner of a team. He may own the university.
Yeah.
But he's not an owner of the team. John Calipari, when you look at what he's done for African American society in America, he doesn't get the praise for that.
No.
Nor would SportsCenter or Fox Sports give him the praise for that either, Jonathan. But he's created, in his time, in less than a decade, at the University of Kentucky, 40 African American millionaires minimum. Now, you think about what that does for society. Not only do they get rich, Jonathan, but they also allowed to have that extended family taken care of, Jonathan, that they help so many people. They're not being tight-pocketed. They're making sure that those people that have been close to them and nurtured them over the years are provided for also, Jonathan. So I want to take this moment just to give a praise to John Calipari. I know I beat up your buddy a lot on the show. I hope we don't get mad and doesn't take away your mulligans out on the golf course and all that. But, I just want to extend this thanks to John Calipari and everybody who wants to blast all the coaches. And we blast many coaches about athletes not getting paid.
Yeah.
That they're working for free on the college level.
Yeah.
But John Calipari, I want everybody to think about that. He has created 40 African American millionaires minimum since he's been the coach at the University of Kentucky. Give him a praise.
And also I want to say that Phil Jackson calls them a posse by the time they roll around with these guys, even though they're a businessman. And you do know that what you just said about Calipari, think about it. He's made more black millionaires than Donald Trump. Big C, your thoughts?
Yeah, Donald Trump can take a page out of John Calipari's book, when they said the art of the deal.
Yeah.
The deal is making people rich and making people rich legally. He's not dealing with
Russia?
Black money from a Russian bank.
Yeah.
He's not dealing with laundered money. He's putting these people out there making a legal paycheck, Jonathan.
Yeah.
Paying legal tax. That's what John Calipari has done. He has taken these African American kids, made them solid U.S. citizens, Jonathan, that pay their fair share of taxes. They have their accountants that make sure that it's done. They're not sitting there saying, I don't pay taxes. They're becoming productive members of American society. He reminds me so much, Jonathan, of the late Jerry Tarkanian.
Yeah.
And Jerry Tarkanian took so much flack for bringing in struggling inner-city athletes, Jonathan, to his programs, whether he was at UNLV, whether he was at Long Beach State prior to that, or even ending up at Fresno State.
Yeah.
Jerry Tarkanian took chances on young men to be productive members in American society. And when you look and see how many of those young men became highly successful because Jerry Tarkanian gave them an opportunity to write their lives. And this is what we don't always give certain coaches credit for in college. I know everybody gets on John about the one-and-done program, and rightfully so.
Yeah.
But, having an education doesn't guarantee you're going to be a professional athlete. It never guarantees that you're going to be a success in life.
Yeah.
But it helps them. It perpetuates you a lot.
Well, think about it. Yeah, go ahead, Dixie, go ahead.
You're already a success.
Yeah. Well, when you think about it, Vladimir Putin, he has an education. He kills people. He also runs Russia. He has an oligarchy. Donald Trump has an education. He lies every day. And he's about to be impeached once they get through the investigation, Big C, because even your good old boys can't break the law when you get the FBI involved in the CIA. I just think he calls it fake news. He'll see how fake they are when they carry him out of the office, Big C, in the White House. But I just want to say also, when you think about giving people opportunity and Calipari, and we know college should find a way to pay these boys, especially these young black kids. About 80% make up the March Madness, of the starting lineups of March Madness. I want everyone that follows Big C Sports because race does matter. Look at the color of the players starting in the Final Four, and just count on your hands. Each team has 5 starting players. You're going to see 80% of them are going to be African American, okay? And they're doing it for free when the coaches are all making millions. But I want to bring up something that I really admire about college basketball too, Big C. The John Wooden Award finalist, the great coach of the UCLA Bruins, up for the award, Lonzo Ball out of UCLA, Josh Hart out of Villanova. You have Frank Mason III out of Kansas. Purdue has Caleb Swanigan. Gonzaga also in the Final Four, Nigel Williams-Gross. And also, if you look at the John Wooden Award, it's not just for guys that are good basketball players, are also good academically. And I just want to congratulate college basketball for acknowledging some of those players, because they're not just basketball players. These guys are good in the classroom too, and I really appreciate that, Big C. Your thought of what it means to young kids to be even named for as a Wooden Award finalist. Your thoughts, Big C?
But Charlton, when you think about the highest awards in college athletics and to become a finalist in those, and you think about all your peers out there from over 120 other universities that you've competed with and against all year long,
yeah,
and to get this acclaim, to get this recognition of the highest award from probably the greatest individual coach of all time in college basketball.
Oh, yeah.
His records will be broken in his championships, Charlton.
Yeah.
His win records and things, the game-winning streak of 88 on the men's side that will be broken over the 10, 11 national championships that he had. But to have set a precedent that John Wood did as far as the mentorship and development of young men in America, back in the day when coaching was about coaching and mentoring for 3 to 4 years, Charlton, that you had these young men under your wing and you taught them the rites of passage from coming into college as a young high school boy, leaving there as a man under his mentorship.
Yeah.
I think, John Wooden stood for so much as a coach, as a person. A lot of that is missed. I just gave a little praise to John Calipari. He has both sides of that, Charlton.
Yeah.
He straddles the fence when it comes to that, because the education part, I can understand John when he says, if I can get these guys to the point where they want to be, what they came to college for.
Yeah.
And I think so often we forget that. There's not a coach that goes out there and tell a kid when he's recruiting him, Charlton, that I can't make you the next greatest player.
Yeah.
Unless they're being Donald Trump lying to them. But they all tell them that they can get them into professional ball, even though they know they cannot do that.
Yeah.
That they cannot get all those kids because there's not enough jobs available there. And even in high school, they're not told that there's not enough jobs available for everybody that's being recruited.
Yeah.
But John Calipari has done a better job of that than anybody else on the college ranks, getting those young men into that dream that they've always aspired to have. And like I said, I thank him for that, because he has made productive members of society doing that, John. The people that are able to give back to charitable and local organizations more than what Donald Trump did. They do like Colin Kaepernick did. They have a human conscience, John. They care. And that's what the John Wooden Award represents, is that you care and you have a human knowledge about your surroundings, not just on the basketball court, Charlton, but about American society.
That's very well said. And speaking of people that care, I just want to ask people to go on the Facebook page and look for Karen Holloway Smith. She's an attorney, one of the best attorneys in Northern California, also follows Big C Sports, and is a friend of mine. And they're raising money with a GoFundMe account to help create clean water for African villages, Big C, going all the way across the Atlantic Ocean from the United States, because they're working with the church and they're trying to help create clean water. We take so much for granted that we have a water faucet, you turn it on, or when you go to make that moonshine, that water's always clean, Big C. It's not coming out of the mud anymore like it did back in the good old days. So if you go to Facebook, Karen Holloway Smith is a GoFundMe account. If you feel like contributing, go ahead. It's a great cause to help get kids healthy drinking water, Big C. So, and that's what Colin Kaepernick is also doing too, being a part of that. And I want to touch on something before we close out, Big C. When we look at the Final Four and we talked about the Wooden Award, there are also a couple of other players that I want to acknowledge, some very good athletes. You have Dylan Brooks out of Oregon. He's going to be in the Final Four, coming up down in Phoenix. You have Josh Jackson out of Kansas. He's an excellent player. And also Justin Jackson out of North Carolina. He'll be there in the Final Four going up against Dylan Brooks. and Duke has Luke Kennard, and Kentucky has Malik Monk. I just want to say congratulations to all those great players. Not everybody can get there, but you set such an example of what the younger players can be coming up. And Big C, I really want to applaud you because we do get on all the coaches. We even get on ourselves. You know, I think you drink too much moonshine. You think that I drink too much red wine, but that's up to us to don't judge me, okay? Big C, we can judge ourselves. But the point is, I just want to commend all the men that are trying to do something with their lives, especially young black boys. Oftentimes, we don't get enough credit when we do well. I'm going to bring up something that's maybe controversial. But Colin Kaepernick is being ostracized by the NFL for wanting to stand up against Black Lives Matter. Well, anyone can practice any religion, but I think it was the Catholic Church. There was a lot of popes that had the biggest lawsuit in California for molestation. They didn't shut down the Catholic Church. They just sent those popes around to different parts of the world, Big C. And Colin Kaepernick has done nothing wrong. He doesn't have ties with a Russian bank. He's not under investigation by the FBI and the CIA. And he definitely didn't do what J.R. Ewing would do back in the day. Remember the great movie Dallas with J.R. Ewing? He does not have his son-in-law doing the negotiating on the surface with Vladimir Putin and them good old boys so that the axe drops on his son-in-law instead of himself. What would his daughter think about that, Big C? Or maybe she's behind the plot, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charles, his son-in-law has national security clearance at the White House that Donald Trump provided for him. So all those links would go directly to Donald Trump when you look at that. But, you know, when you talk about Colin Kaepernick, Charles, and what he has done in American society, he didn't lie like the president. Okay?
No.
He didn't lie like the president's son-in-law. Think if he had lied about the reason he was taking a stance, you know, during the national anthem.
Yeah.
You know, and if we want to disrespect the American flag and be anti-American, it's what the president has done.
Yeah.
Lied every day. That's disrespecting the flag when you hold the highest office in the land.
Yeah.
Is that you wake up every morning thinking, what lie am I going to tell today, and try to get the American public to buy it. I think the intelligence now is starting to come out even more, even in the Republican Party.
Yeah.
They're becoming standoffish because you control the House and the Senate, and you couldn't get this medical bill plan passed that you said you were going to abolish Obamacare on day one. Day one passed and day 64 showed up and you still hadn't done it.
they still hadn't done it.
In street terminology, you got kicked in the curb. And now, you know, you're coming out saying that you're going to do tax reform, okay? The same people that would have been affected by a repeal of Obamacare will be affected by tax reform, Charlton. So when you talk about the tax reform, that's what Obamacare operates under. Tax reform, Charlton.
Yeah.
So once you conform those taxes, Charlton, for the wealthy, and you no longer give those tax credits for Obamacare, Charlton, those people are going to be a little kicked off once again.
Yeah.
So you're going to have some senators and some House members get recalled. And so, as the president, Charlton, it's your obligation to be honest to the American citizens. It is your duty, your fiduciary duty, as this leading politician of America, to be honest with the American public. Stop coming up with all these frivolous stories, sending Sean Spicer out there to be the puppet liar. You know, be a man. Stand up and say, hey, I've made some mistakes because I have not been a career politician. I've started to understand that. But I can correct it. Give me time. But don't keep sending out lies. So I've made some mistakes. Things haven't been as easy as I thought they were going to be running my own business.
Yeah, that's true, Big Z. It still reminds me of the great Richard Pryor when he was a Hollywood comedian, one of the funniest guys in the world, and he had this story about he was dating this playboy or this some woman, and he came home with a Playboy bunny, and they were doing what adults do when they go to Las Vegas, Big Z, and she caught him, she walked in the house and said, Richard, I can't believe what you're doing, I can't believe you do that to me, Richard, and he said, who you can believe, you or your lying eyes, or me or your lying eyes? I don't tell the story as well as Richard told it, but you get the point, Big Z, your thoughts.
Well, you know, that is so true, y'all. It's just like what we see in sports, you know, and, you know, like with the NFL owners having these meetings down in Vegas and abolishing rules and putting other sanctions in, saying that it's for the betterment of the game. It's almost like every time you turn around, Charlton, is that you're taking something away from the fans, and that's what we get in politics. We're taking away things from the American public. We get commissioners of the league and owners taking away things from the fans. And you can't keep doing that. the NFL game is a dangerous game regardless. If you play it, it's dangerous.
Yeah.
The only way that game is not dangerous is that you don't play it. And for them to keep interfering in the game, calling, they're making it safe and adjustments, you know, it's like American society.
Yeah.
We've had all this interference from these other countries in our political backstory and stuff, y'all.
Yeah.
And it's caused a lot of confusion in America.
Well,
you know, Americans walking around and
hold
don't know
on.
who to trust.
But Big C, speak. I don't mean to cut you off, but speaking of, you said countries interfering. Would you believe Dick Cheney surfaced again, and he said that what Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump are doing in interfering with the election is an act of war? Dick Cheney, we've heard of weapons of mass destruction. We don't want another war, okay? Can someone tell Dick Cheney just go back to drinking and not talking about going to war again? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, if you look at the increase of American soldiers back into the Middle East,
Oh, yeah.
they're quietly sending anywhere between 250 and 500 soldiers on a weekly basis back into the Middle East and back into Iraq and Afghanistan. And he's not making a lot of news about that, but they're quietly going, Charlton, that he's putting American lives back in peril, and yet you don't know anything about war. You don't even know about leadership and guidance, Charlton.
Yeah.
But you're willing to send these people to escalate because no one impeaches a wartime president.
Exactly.
And so he's looking to expedite the escalation of this offensive there in the Middle East, Charlton. And if he can expedite it, then you're going to have people saying, well, he defeated ISIS.
Yeah.
He had the greatest job in America, but he defeated ISIS. You're not going to defeat ISIS. I think the ISIS war was learned from Vietnam, and not many people want to remember Vietnam.
Yeah.
But you didn't know who you were fighting.
Yeah.
Just like with ISIS. When everybody looks the same, when I can blend in and I don't have to wear a uniform,
Yeah.
I can be one of the locals, you don't know who you're fighting, Dalton. So this is a winless battle that we're in.
Yeah.
We've had two presidents that have proven that thus far, and we got a third that's going to mess it up from what the two previous presidents have done, Dalton.
Well, Big C, I hope that cooler heads prevail in the final segment. I just want to run down a few things that's going on in the NHL. Tonight's games, we have Carolina's favorite over Detroit. Columbus is favorite over Buffalo. Philadelphia's favorite over Ottawa. Montreal, their favorite over Dallas. Washington's favorite over Minnesota. And you have Edmonton over Los Angeles. Anaheim's favorite over Vancouver. And San Jose is favorite over the New York Rangers. I also want to just touch on something, too, that I know is coming up this week, and a lot of people are getting prepared for it. Even though it tips off next month, we have the Masters coming up. I want to close out the show by bringing up something about disparity. If you look at the PGA FedEx Cup leaders, Dustin Johnson, to this point, has made $5,346,600. Okay? Hideki Matsuyama, he's made $4,529,000. Okay, we'll go down to number 6, Pat Perez. He's made $2,556,000. In fact, let me go down to the last guy that made $1 million, Big C, and it's down to number 25. There's at least Russell Knox, the 25th ranked golfer, $1.1 million he's made so far this year, Big C. The top female golfer, her name is So Young Roo. She's made $387,000 on the money trail. $387,000. The man in 25th position has made $1.1 million. For you good old girls out there, are you going to stop saying stand behind your man and start standing equal with these good old boys? Big C, your thoughts?
Charles, we've seen so much financial disparity in professional sports, and the only one that has brought it to attention is the female hockey team, Charles.
Yeah.
The U.S. female hockey team. You know, talking about not playing in the World Cup, they haven't practiced for 3 weeks. They've been out boycotting.
Yeah.
Wanting to get some equality. And when we look around, you know, you're going to tell me that these national networks are not broadcasting commercials or have sponsorship on all these female events. Look at the NCAA, Charles, the Final Four with women is being held out in Texas.
Yeah.
It's not receiving anywhere near the coverage that the men's Final Four is.
No.
And, you know, these college athletes, they're college athletes. And for to have this huge disparity on how women are treated in sports, and college basketball is a revenue sport, Charles.
Yeah.
You talk about professional golf, it's a revenue sport. When we think about the great levels of female college baseball that are played, I mean, it's second to none. It's unparalleled. You think about the great Olympic swimmers that we just had, Dolphins, coming out of Olympics. Look how many women won gold medals for the United States, more than men.
Yeah.
But they will not receive anywhere near the compensation that the men receive, Charles. So we have to look at that from a different precipice in America. ante for the women. We look at the pro circuit in tennis.
Yeah.
The top of tennis players in America are
Yeah.
women.
Right.
Well, in the world, not just America, but in the world.
Yeah.
Are women. And they're from the U.S., Charlie.
Yeah.
So when we think about what they do not get, how they do not get the exposure,
yeah,
that's from the national media, which is biased.
Yeah.
All the national media is biased. They want to think that these women don't deserve the coverage, they don't deserve the competition.
Yeah.
And that's where it falls. And so when these women, like we constantly talk, when they start boycotting, just like the national hockey team, the female hockey team for America,
yeah,
when you boycott, making a statement that we won't put up with it any longer.
Yeah.
We're going to have to compensate us. We're not asking for the same amount of pay, but we're asking for competitive balance pay, Charles.
Yeah.
That's what you have to look at. And that's based on the revenue that's generated by the sport. Because we know that all the NBA owners are multi-billionaires.
Oh, yeah. they got more. They got as much money as Vladimir Putin. Speaking of as much money as Vladimir Putin, I want to say every Monday through Friday at 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time worldwide, follow Big C Sports and the iHeart Radio Network, the #1 network in the United States. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe according to them good old boys. And also I want to say every Monday through Friday, we always tell you there's never any reason to ever put your hands on a woman. If a woman goes through any type of trouble, just call 911 and don't let that woman go through that on her own. And as we always tell you, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.